The Vibecatch podcast brings you the latest in employee engagement, workforce productivity, and people analytics.
Hello everybody, this is Konstantin from Vibecatch, and today I have the pleasure to talk to Marko Kesti, who is a research director into the field of human capital. Welcome, Marko.
Thank you very much, nice to be here.
So Marko, we've been following your work for some time now, and what I would like to talk to you about today is the whole topic of quality of work life. So maybe we start with the fact that what is quality of work life? Maybe you can briefly explain that to us.
Yeah, we have in our research we found out that the traditional way to measure workers' well-being is not sort of qualified for measuring the human performance, because we need the quantified human performance to be able to analyze human capital productivity. And the traditional well-being survey doesn't work properly because they are oversimplified, because the statistical average analyzing about the results gives you wrong information about the real human performance, and it has tendency to sort of underestimate the human capital productivity improvement potential.
Wow, that's quite
that's
interesting.
why we need the quality of working life index. It's a special method how you quantify human performance utilizing motivation theory. So
Okay.
we sort of skip the average statistics and we analyze the well-being using motivation theory. And motivation theory is the right science to measure human performance.
This is quite interesting. You mentioned also employee well-being, and I think that there's a lot of buzzwords in terms of employee engagement, and like how does employee engagement and well-being factor into the quality of work life?
Employee engagement, and there are also many other sort of factors, indicators how quality of working life is at the organization, and they are very useful to utilize. But for example, if you want to improve employee engagement, you need to know what to do, and quality of working life index tells you how to get effect to the employee engagement.
All right.
It sort of explains what is wrong at the organization right now and how to improve it.
So in a nutshell, like how I would understand it is that, for example, measuring just employee engagement will not actually improve the quality of work life and the productivity in an organization.
Exactly. It gives you signal that there is something wrong, and it
Right.
might give you signal that there is quite good situation
Yeah.
at the quality of working life, but it doesn't tell you what to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is a very good clarification, because I think that especially when talking to HR practitioners, there's a little bit of a confusion about where and what to measure in an organization in terms of having more engaged or and more productive employees. And
the one thing I say that you point out that we are measuring things that are important, and it seems so that in traditional employee surveys we want to ask questions about issues that are important, that we feel that this question is important, this question is important, this is important also, and this is important, and there are so many important things that we want to know, and you get the data too much data, and then you can't find out what is the real meaningful. But our quality of working life starts with a different view. We first think what is important for the motivation of workers in the working place. And then we ask only those questions that are really important for the workers' human performance and motivation theory. That's why we don't need so many questions. There are just too many questions in traditional well-being surveys. That, for example, if there is 50 questions, it's quite common. It's just too many.
That's also overwhelming. I mean, imagine if any employee, if I would get a survey now with 50 questions, and I think that measuring productivity and well-being is not a job that you have to do once every 3 years. You have to do it regularly and constantly. If I would get every quarter 50 questions to ask, I would just go nuts.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't. It's hopeless. It doesn't work. And we need the quality of working life is a production parameter.
Okay.
We need to know how it
fluctuates.
develops.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And to know that we need to ask questions. And it's better to ask 15 questions every 3 months than 50 questions once a year, because now when we get the information more in shorter periods, we can affect also. We can see, is it going to at the right direction or is it going down, and we can do actions in advance. And that's why we need 15 questions is just enough. We don't need 50. 15 is for example, is okay. It can be even less.
I agree, fully agree. How would you, from your experience, how would you encourage employees to actually fill in those questions? What would be a method to actually work with, a better way to work with quality of work life? How would we bring
exactly
that?
Yeah, we are now doing research in this field, and we need to psychologically gamify this quality of working life improvement. Right. And it needs 3 factors that we need to put there in organization. First of all, the quality of working life index has to be important. If it's not important, it's no use to do anything. It has to be important.
I'm so happy you mentioned that. I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah, it has to be important, and it's a production parameter that the executive level is following, and they are interested about it. And then the second is we have to measure it enough often so that we know how it is developing. And the third is that every supervisor, every leader, line manager has to know that their behavior, management behavior, affects to the quality of working life. And with these 3 factors, you psychologically gamify the quality of working life improvement.
I'm so happy you mentioned that the quality of work life index has to be important to the organization, because I feel that there's a lot of talk about, sure, we want a better company culture, we want more productive employees, we want happier, that they come on Monday morning cheering and being blissful and all that. But in the end, I think that what we see in reality is that there is a push in terms of who is responsible when it comes to their happiness inside an organization. The HR managers say well, it's our responsibility. And then the leaders say, no, it's our responsibility. So everybody's kind of pushing the ball to somebody else. So what would you say that whose responsibility is it in terms of, to make this index or to make this quality of work life important in a company?
Yes, first of all, there has to be the management system that supports the quality of working life at the work. The management system, I mean that, for example, those line managers, they don't have too many employees in their group, so that it's a reasonable size that they can lead the human performance there. And there has to be management system so that the leaders, they can take the responsibility of the workers' well-being, so that they have enough power to do things if necessary, and then when this management system is in order, then after that is the supervisors, line managers' behavior, so that their behavior supports the quality of working life. And then when this is in order, then it goes to the employee level, so that every worker has an essential meaning that they are playing the overall sum game in their group, so that there are no workers that are playing zero-sum game. That is very important. It's very harmful if somebody is playing zero-sum game in the working group. It totally ruins the whole team performance. So we need to have the structure so that there is possible to lead the team, so that the quality of working life is in good shape. And then there has to be also methods how to prevent the zero-sum game if somebody starts to play that zero-sum game.
Yeah.
We are studying game theory in management, and that is very important.
It is.
And very, very interesting, the game theoretical approach to the management. And there are a lot of issues that are coming.
Okay, this is quite interesting. Well, we saw also from, so I fully agree with you when you say like that everybody has to be kind of like and playing in the same, you know, like everybody has to be on their game, and you know, like it's a win-win, it's a no zero-sum game. In a nutshell, everybody has to know that we are in this together, we're in the same boat, we need to row in the same direction, and nobody's leaving behind anybody, and we all contribute to the whole journey. Now, you know, but on the other hand, there are companies who actually take different approaches and say, well, you know, we want to ask 100 questions every single day, and I feel that it gets in a survey burnout if you want to keep it like that. So then people tend to get demotivated, and there's a feeling like, well, you know, I think the management is just asking us to tick some boxes. They don't really care what we really feel. So the question, like, how do you prevent the survey burnout, and you know, to keep people motivating, answer this question. I think this ties in a little bit into the gamification, but would you like to add anything else?
That's one tricky question. We need to ask the employee certain questions, but we don't want to get this too much. So we can of course ask the quality of working life, so that we ask only some questions for each month, so that we get the quality of working life index every month, but not many questions, because it only a couple questions for each person in 1 month. It's not too much. We can follow the quality of working life. It can be done. And also one possibility, especially in the future, will be so that we install that type of artificial intelligence follow-up, so that the AI will follow the signals of the organization, and if the signals indicates that in this group the quality of working life is probably dropping, it will activate the questionnaire.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
And that way we don't need to ask all the time the question. We ask the questions when it is needed.
That is
one possibility.
On the other hand, when we look at surveys and polls and all the feedback, there's also not necessarily a trend, but kind of like companies that are not really doing anything, or they're doing almost close to nothing. So what I would like to ask is, from your experience, like, what would be the cost of inaction for a company that doesn't even start measuring, like even start considering looking at the health of the employees, of the well-being of the employees?
They are losing money. They are losing a lot of money when they are not measuring it.
Okay.
The quality of working life is a production parameter. So it means that it is as important production parameter as the full-time equivalent. Actually, it's more important, because quality of working life affects to the customer satisfaction.
True.
And if they are not measuring it, they are not taking care of customer satisfaction, and customer is paying. They don't care about customer value. With quality of working life, you increase the customer value, and when you increase the customer value, you get more revenue, and with more revenue, you get more profit. So you're losing money.
That's very, very
Yes.
accurate and very plain said. So if you don't do anything, you will lose money. We approached and we work with HR managers quite closely in implementing solutions for employee well-being and surveys. And so, but we feel, at least what I've noticed and what I've heard in a lot of companies, is that HR cannot make a case, or they don't know how to prove the return on investment of employee engagement or employee well-being or quality of life to their leaders. So how can an HR manager do that? Like what would you say to them?
Science will help. I can give them a tool that they can analyze the return on investment at the human capital.
All right.
They can analyze that if they implement some invest to the human development there in the company, improving quality of working life, measuring it, they will get the money payback many times for the investment. They can analyze it so that it's reliable, and they can show the calculation to the executive level, and that way they will get the money to invest, because it has very good ROI, return on investment.
This is very good, because I think that management or top leadership is typically convinced by numbers, like it's a numbers game for them, and that's
executives, managers at the top level, they have to follow the calculated value, and if you don't calculate, you are just it's just a feeling based sort of, and it tends to be not so important if you're only saying that it will give you very good, but if you don't show any calculation, it's not so reliable. That's
so true, and I think that we are living in a so high-paced society, and everything changes, like from technology. We have the introduction of AI, you mentioned it before, but it comes in a lot of fields like machine learning. Everybody's running after short-term profits, and everybody's trying to optimize that. But personally, I feel that when it comes to employees and the health of an organization, this is a long-term game. It's like a marathon, right? So what are some of the problems or pitfalls with optimizing short-term profits?
Yes, that is important. It is important to know what is productivity. Productivity is the return on investment, and then there is the time span. If you only look very short time span, it's very easy to get more profit, but after a certain time you will lose more because you made the wrong decisions short term. You can improve the productivity short term easily by cutting the costs, but if you cut the costs, you will easily also reduce the quality of working life, which is production parameter. And quality of working life tells you how productive you will be in the future.
True.
If you cut the cost, you will get more profit short term, but you will lose money long term because you reduce this production parameter that gives you customer value, and the customer value will pay you the revenue, and your competitiveness will reduce. That's why quality of working life is important to build sustainable productivity improvement. It is you have to have at least 1 year span in your productivity. When you analyze productivity, you need to have at least 1 year, preferably 5 year span in the future, and then build sustainable productivity improvement in your company. And of course, you have there issues like increasing the staff number. It might be that you have a growing market situation, that you have very good possibilities to increase the revenue by increasing the staff number. When you increase the staff number, you will cause fuss and this grouping needs at the organization. You will also reduce the quality of working life, and that's why you need to invest this quality of working life and measure it all the time, because every change you make in an organization, whether good or bad, it will reduce the quality of working life. That is the sort of a natural law.
It is,
and that's why you need to measure quality of working life and then improve the quality of working life. Then you get this new stuff to make the profit. So that the fuss doesn't increase the organization. You sort of reduce the fuss and increase the effectiveness of the organization. You measure quality of working life. It's sort of sustainable. You have to be
that's the key, sustainable.
Yes, you need to all the time know what is the situation, and you have to see to the future and develop the human capital in the organization, so that you build sustainable development in the future, long span.
So this is so valuable. I think that to kind of like put a closure to this discussion would be that companies need to first of all realize that they have to measure and they have to measure the quality of work life on a constant and regular base. It's not a one-time job that you do once a year or once every 3 years. And when I say once every 3 years, I'm just giving an example. We've been in a few events in Germany, and we spoke with a few companies there. And one of the HR managers said, "Yeah, we're doing this once every 3 years." And I was like, "Really? Like once every 3 years? It's kind of the employees are already changing jobs every 3 years. So how can you even improve on anything?" Because
so long time.
Exactly. By the
exactly.
time you even realize that, we have a problem, new employees are coming. So the constant improvement, the constant listening and monitoring, I think that's one of the keys. And second is that everybody in the company has to understand the goals and the direction. And third, that it's a long-term game. It's not something that you need to.
Exactly. And there is one very good scorecard.
Okay.
For measuring this, and it's a balance scorecard. Kaplan recommend this time-driven activity-based cost.
Interesting.
It says how much one effective working hour costs, and you get this effective working hour from quality of working life index. You can calculate the effective working hours utilizing the scorecard quality of working life index. And then when you measure this time-driven activity-based cost, you measure your competitiveness at the market. And when you improve the quality of working life, you reduce the one effective working hour cost. And it can be so that you give employees better payment, but you are more effective because your time-driven activity-based cost is lower than what the competitor has.
So hence you become more competitive
yeah,
on the market.
because you pay more to the employees, but you get more value from the money you pay. And that time-driven activity-based cost is very, very good scorecard. And you can have this by utilizing this quality of working life index.
Amazing.
Yes.
Marko, I would like to say thank you, and to our listeners, we're going to put some resources and a link to Marko's profile and website, so you can follow his research and you can follow more of what he's doing in the future. So thank you again for the time.
Thank you, pleasure.
Thank you, and let's keep in touch soon, and follow us on social media for the latest in employee engagement. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Vibecatch podcast. Visit our website, vibecatch.com, for more resources and insights on employee engagement, human productivity, and HR technology. Don't forget to subscribe to get the latest podcast right in your inbox.